"This gonna break the internet," the kid said, pointing his phone at the old man's face. A TikToker with 4 million followers slapped a 79-year-old veteran outside a restaurant, not knowing 40 bikers were having lunch inside. The punk was live streaming everything when he shoved Robert Davis against a car. Robert had been a Navy SEAL in Desert Storm who just wanted to eat dinner. He'd politely asked the young man to turn down music blasting from his car in the parking lot. That's when the punk decided to make content. Before I show you what those bikers did next, hit that subscribe button, because this isn't just a story about revenge. It's about respect. "Yo, check this out," the punk said to his camera. "Old dude's about to learn respect." His name was Brandon Cole, 23 years old with bleached hair and designer clothes covered in logos. He made his money filming pranks that were really just him being cruel to strangers. "You know who I am, old man?" Brandon shouted while recording. "I'm Brandon Cole. I got more followers than you got days left." His two friends circled around filming from different angles. They needed multiple shots for the edit. "Bet he's gonna cry. That's what old people do," one friend laughed. Robert stood there quietly. His hands showed liver spots and scars from shrapnel. "Son, I don't want any trouble." "Son," Brandon mocked, "you're not my father, boomer. My dad actually matters." Brandon shoved Robert again, harder this time. The old man stumbled backward into a motorcycle. His leg hit the chrome exhaust pipe. He winced, but didn't cry out. "Yo, did you see that?" Brandon's friend said excitedly. "He almost knocked over that bike. Film this, film this." What these idiots didn't know was that 40 members of the Devil's Watch Motorcycle Club were finishing lunch in the restaurant. They'd been celebrating their president's birthday. Through the window, they saw everything. Bull, the club president, slowly put down his beer. He was 6'5" with a gray beard that reached his chest. His hands were the size of dinner plates. "Brothers," Bull said quietly, "we have a problem outside." The entire restaurant went silent. 40 chairs scraped against the floor as the bikers stood up in unison. They didn't run, they didn't shout. They just walked toward the door in a single line, boots hitting the ground like a war drum. Brandon was too busy filming to notice. He grabbed Robert's collar and pulled him close to the camera. "Say you're sorry for bothering me," Brandon demanded. Robert's voice was steady despite the pain. "I apologize for disturbing you." "Not good enough," Brandon sneered. He raised his hand and slapped Robert across the face. The sound echoed through the parking lot. Robert's glasses flew off and skittered under a car. Blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Yeah," Brandon shouted at his phone. "Y'all just saw that? That's how Brandon Cole handles disrespect. Smash that subscribe button if you loved this content." His friends were laughing and high-fiving. The live stream had 47,000 viewers. Comments were flooding in. Most were shocked, but some were cheering him on. That's when the restaurant door opened. 40 bikers walked out in formation. Their leather vests displayed patches that told stories of brotherhood, loss, and loyalty. Every single one of them stopped and stared at Brandon. The parking lot suddenly felt very small. Bull's voice was calm but carried the weight of a falling mountain. "You just made the biggest mistake of your pathetic life, boy." Brandon finally looked up from his phone. His smile vanished like smoke. He was surrounded by a wall of leather, metal, and muscle. "Oh shit," his friend whispered, lowering his camera. "Yo, chill," Brandon said, his voice cracking. "It's just content. It's for entertainment." "Entertainment?" growled Axe, a biker whose arms were covered in military tattoos. "You just assaulted a veteran for entertainment." Robert raised a shaking hand. "Please, I don't want violence. I'm fine." But the bikers weren't listening to Robert. Their eyes were locked on Brandon, like predators studying prey. "Delete the video," Bull commanded. "No way," Brandon protested, holding his phone close. "This is going to get 10 million views. Do you know what that's worth in sponsorship money?" Wrench, a shorter biker with hands that looked like they'd rebuilt 1,000 engines, pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen a few times. "Brandon Cole," Wrench read aloud, "born in California, dropped out of college, known for controversial pranks." He scrolled further. Previous videos include stealing from the homeless, destroying a kid's science project, and pouring milk on grocery store employees. "Those videos were fire," Brandon said defensively. "Millions of people loved them." "Millions of people are about to watch you learn a lesson," Hawk promised. His voice was quiet, but somehow more threatening than if he had shouted. Brandon tried to run. He made it exactly 4 steps before iron blocked his path. Iron was called that because he'd been a prison guard for 20 years before retiring. He knew how to stop people without saying a word. "My phone," Brandon screamed as Bull plucked it from his hand. "That's an iPhone 15 Pro Max. That cost me $1,500. "Cost you more than that," Bull said, dropping it on the concrete. He didn't stomp on it. He just let gravity do the work. The screen shattered into a spiderweb of cracks. Brandon's 2 friends were already in their car, engine running, but they weren't leaving. They were still filming from behind the windshield. "I'm calling the police," Brandon shouted, pulling out a backup phone. "This is theft and assault. I have witnesses." "Go ahead," Bull said, crossing his arms. "Tell them how you assaulted a disabled elderly veteran and posted it online for profit." That's when something incredible happened. Robert walked through the circle of bikers. His face was bruised, his lip was bleeding, but his back was straight. He stood directly in front of Brandon. "Young man, do you know why I come to this restaurant every year on this date?" Brandon didn't answer. He was too busy trying to figure out escape routes. 30 years ago today, my team completed a rescue mission in Iraq. We saved 42 hostages from a compound, but we lost 3 men doing it. The bikers removed their hats. Several placed hands over their hearts. One of those men was named Brandon Ellis. He was 22 years old, same age as you. Brandon's face went pale. Brandon Ellis died running into enemy fire to save a little girl who'd been shot. He took 11 bullets. He knew he was dying, but he kept running until that child was safe. The parking lot was completely silent, except for distant traffic. "You share his name," Robert said, looking Brandon in the eyes. "But you're nothing like him. He died for something meaningful. You live for meaningless clicks." I didn't know," Brandon stammered. "No, you didn't," Robert agreed, "because you don't think before you act. You don't consider consequences. You just want attention." Brandon looked at the ground. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not," Robert said sadly. "You're scared of these bikers. That's not the same as being sorry." He was right. Brandon's hands were shaking, but it was fear, not remorse. Robert touched the bruise on his face and winced. "Son, I've been hit by trained soldiers who wanted me dead. Your slap doesn't hurt much, but what does hurt is knowing that men like Brandon Ellis died protecting your freedom to be cruel." Bull stepped forward. "Here's what's happening, Internet boy. You're going to delete every video where you hurt or humiliate another human being." "That's most of my content," Brandon whined. "That's how I make money." "Then I guess you need a new job," Wrench said flatly.
Brandon's finger trembled as he scrolled through his profile. He had 847 videos. He started deleting them one by one.
"Faster," Axe ordered.
"I can only delete so many before Instagram flags my account," Brandon protested.
"Not our problem," Hawk said. But the bikers had more planned.
"Now you're making an apology video," Bull commanded. "Right here, right now. You're going to apologize to Robert and every person you've pranked." "No way," Brandon refused. "That'll ruin my reputation."
Iron didn't say anything. He just cracked his knuckles. Each pop sounded like a small firecracker. Brandon reconsidered immediately. He made the video right there in the parking lot, with 40 bikers watching. He admitted what he'd done. He apologized to Robert. He promised to be better. But Robert surprised everyone with what he said next. "I forgive you," Robert said simply.
"What?"
Brandon looked shocked. "Why?" "Because I've seen real evil. I've watched good men die. I've held friends in my arms while they took their last breath. I've seen too much real violence to waste energy on hate." Brandon looked confused. "So, I can go?" "Forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences," Robert clarified. Bull smiled, but it wasn't friendly. He pulled out his phone and dialed. "Hey, Sheriff? Yeah, it's Bull. We have someone here at Tony's restaurant who just assaulted an elderly veteran on camera. Live streamed it to thousands of people." Brandon's eyes went wide.
"Wait, no, we worked it out."
"That's not how the law works," Bull said. Within 10 minutes, 2 police cars pulled into the parking lot. Officers got out, took one look at the situation, and immediately understood what happened. "Robert, you okay?" the younger officer asked. He knew Robert. Everyone in town knew Robert. "I'll survive, Tommy, but this young man needs to learn that actions have consequences." Brandon was arrested for assault and battery on an elderly person. As the handcuffs clicked shut, he had one last question. "Mr. Davis, you said I wanted to go viral? What did you mean?" Robert looked at him with pity. "You're about to become famous for all the wrong reasons." He was right. Within 2 hours, the story exploded online. TikToker assaults War veteran became the #1 trending topic on every platform. Brandon's original live stream had been recorded by viewers. There was no deleting it now. It lived forever. His followers abandoned him in waves. 4 million became 3 million, then 2 million, then 500,000. By the next morning, his account had been permanently banned from TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Sponsors pulled their deals immediately. The energy drink company, the phone case brand, the clothing line, all gone. His Porsche lease was canceled when the company saw the news. But something beautiful happened too. Robert's story went viral for the right reasons. News outlets interviewed him. People learned he'd served 26 years in the military. They learned about the 42 hostages he helped save. They learned he volunteered at homeless shelters every weekend. Donations poured in from grateful Americans, over $300,000 in 5 days. Robert donated every single penny to organizations helping homeless veterans. The Devil's Watch made Robert an honorary member. They gave him a leather vest with patches reading Navy SEAL Desert Storm and Protected by Devil's Watch.
Every year since, on the anniversary of that rescue mission, Robert rides with them. Not on his own bike, he's too old for that now, but in a custom sidecar they built specifically for him. It has a small American flag and a plaque with the names of the 3 men who died that day, including Brandon Ellis. Brandon Cole got 6 months in jail and 3 years probation. His TikTok career was over. His sponsorships were gone. Last anyone heard, he was working at a car wash for minimum wage. But the story doesn't end there. 8 months later, Robert was at the restaurant again for his annual memorial meal. Someone approached his table nervously. It was Brandon. He looked completely different. No designer clothes, no expensive haircut, just a regular guy in a work uniform. "Mr. Davis, can I talk to you for a minute?" Robert studied him carefully. "Sit down." Brandon sat. His hands were rough now, covered in calluses from real work. "I wanted to apologize again, for real this time." "Why now?" "Because I met my cellmate's grandfather in jail. He was a Marine. He told me stories about Vietnam, about what you guys really went through." Brandon pulled an envelope from his pocket. "I've been working 3 jobs to save this." Inside was $2,000 in cash. "It's for homeless veterans. I know it's not much, but it's a start." Robert's eyes filled with tears. "Son, this is worth more than you know." "Why?" Brandon asked. "Because it shows you've grown. That's all any of us can do, grow from our mistakes." Brandon's voice cracked. "Can you tell me about him? About Brandon Ellis?" Robert smiled. "I'd be honored." For the next 3 hours, Robert told stories about courage, about sacrifice, about what it really means to be a man, about the Brandon who gave his life for a child he didn't know. When they finished, Brandon made a promise. "I'll try to honor that name better." "That's all I ask," Robert said. Bull and the Devil's Watch still protect Robert at every event. They've also started a program teaching young people about respecting veterans and understanding sacrifice. They call it the Brandon Ellis Honor Program, named after the hero, not the fool. Brandon Cole volunteers for the program now. He tells his story as a warning about what happens when you chase fame instead of character. He always ends with the same line: "I slapped a hero and got slapped by reality." The video of his apology is still online, not because it gets views, but because it teaches a lesson that some people need to learn the hard way. Respect isn't content, honor isn't clickbait, and heroes deserve reverence, not ridicule. Robert Davis is 83 now. His walk is slower, his hands shake more, but when he stands in that restaurant once a year, 40 bikers stand with him, because they know what Brandon Cole learned the hard way. You don't mess with veterans. You don't mock sacrifice, and you definitely don't slap an old soldier in front of his brothers. The Brotherhood does not forget. They don't forgive easily, but when they do, it changes lives. Remember, bikers still believe in protecting those who protected us, so don't mess with a veteran ever, especially in front of bikers. If you believe bikers are good people, subscribe to this channel and show us your support.